Hi, thanks for joining me. Today I want to take a few minutes to show you how I set up a form for my Digital Breakout EDU. Now, this is not the form like for the keys and the locks and stuff like that. This is an additional form that I included with an article that I wanted my students to read. And I did this because I wanted to make sure that I was including an element, like an ACT element, into this activity. Now, instead of creating this form as a quiz, like I typically would have done, I used a couple of different options. I'm going to move myself over here so you guys can see better. A few of the really cool things about Google Forms is that you have the option to send your students to a specific section of your form based on the response that they give you. Okay, so the first thing that I did here, I've got 6 different sections. The first section includes the mandatory, like, what is your name question, obviously. And then question 1 is in section 2, which kind of messes with my brain a little bit, but it's okay. Question 2 is in section 3. 3 is in section 4. Section 5 is kind of the interesting one. If the students get a question wrong, then I've set it up to, it'll take it to section 5, and then section 5 will make it loop back around to the first question. So that way that they are required to get the answer correct before they move on, which I think is pretty cool. Okay, and section 6 is my hooray, you did it, and you get the magic number image. Okay, so I'm just going to take a second to walk you through how I did that. Now, I didn't, the first time that I did this, I kind of had to tinker around with it a little bit to make sure that it was doing exactly what I wanted it to do. So always make sure, this is kind of a given, but always make sure that you test out your form before you send it to your kids, just so you don't have any of those hiccups, during your class, because that would not be fun. All right, so starting off here with section 1, this is my required name section. Now you can see down here underneath my section, I'm telling the form to go on to the next section after the students have finished that. So I'm going to click on this just so you can see all of the different options that I have. So I'm just going to tell it to go on to the next section. All right, so now with question 1, I've got these different options here, and based on the response that the students choose, they're going to go to a specific section, okay? So if they choose the correct answer, then they're going to go on to the next section. If they choose an incorrect response, then they're going to be prompted to go to section 5, this part down here, which is going to say you've got to review it and try again. So if they are prompted to go to section 5, okay, so if they get it wrong, then notice after section 5, I've set up the form to go back to section 1, which is going to make them start the whole thing over, okay? So jumping back up here. Now I'm going to go to my next section. I've got a whole bunch of different response options here. If they get the question right, they go on to the next section, which is the next question. If they get the question wrong, just like with question 1, then they go to section 5, and that prompts them to go all the way back around to complete the form again. Okay, question 3, same type of thing. Okay, I've got different options. If they get it right, then they move on to section 6, which is hooray, you got it. Okay, and if they get it wrong, just like here, then they have to go on to section 5, loop back around, yada, yada. Okay, now I'm going to show you after, let's see, here we go. So after each of the sections, I'm just going to go ahead and tell it to continue on to the next section, because I've already given it specific instructions up here that if the student gets a question wrong, then they have to go to a different section, okay? So the only time I'm going to change that is down here on section 5, because once the kids get to section 5, I don't want them to go on to the next section, because the next section is, hooray, you won. So if you go to section 5, that means that you got something wrong and you need to loop back and try it again. So I want it to go to section 1, okay? So that's the only time that I had to pay attention to that in this specific form, okay? So like I said, anytime I make anything, I always give it a test run. So I'm gonna jump over here. All right, and now I've got you, try to get you on the screen. All right. So now you should be on the same screen as me. Fabulous. Okay, so I'm just going to give this a test run here. And my name is Bethany. Next. And now it's going to take me to section 1. Okay, so I get this one right. That's the correct answer. Awesome. So because I got it right, it's going to send me on to question 2. Now let's say I get question 2 wrong. I'm going to go ahead and click next. And, review the article and try again. Okay, so I'm going to click next. And there it goes. It loops me back around to the first response. Okay. So I've got that. One of the great things about forms in this way is that it's going to save my responses. Okay, so I'm going to click next. And according to the article, why are Democrats threatening a slow walk to the nomination process? We'll guess that one. I think that one's right. Yep. Okay, and I won. So now I can submit my form. Okay, so that's how I created this Digital Breakout EDU form. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.